I'm sorry, but height matters. And that doesn't make me shallow. It makes me honest. It makes me realistic. It makes me someone who knows what she wants and isn't afraid to articulate her preferences in a world that constantly tells women to settle, to lower their standards, to accept less than what makes them happy. Everyone has preferences. Everyone. Ask any person on the street what they're attracted to and they'll give you a list. Tall, dark hair, athletic build, nice smile, good sense of humor, financially stable. We all have criteria. We all have standards. We all have that mental checklist we run through when we meet someone. Why am I being crucified for admitting mine out loud? It was a joke, a harmless comment, a light-hearted observation meant to make him laugh, meant to ease the tension in the room because he was pacing around, all nervous and weird, and clearly working himself up to say something serious. I was trying to help. I was trying to lighten the mood before he gave himself an anxiety attack. He knows I like tall guys. I've always been attracted to height. It's not a secret. It's not something I hid when we started dating. He can't blame me now for having preferences I've always had. That's like adopting a cat and then getting mad it meows. You knew what you were signing up for. And everyone compares siblings sometimes. It's normal. It's natural. His brother is taller. That's just an observable fact. I wasn't saying anything cruel or unusual. I was making a simple comparison between two people who happen to be related. If that's offensive, then we might as well stop talking altogether, because apparently facts are now feelings. I say all this while sitting outside his apartment building on the cold concrete steps. Mascara streaked down my cheeks in black rivers. My suitcase next to me like I'm some kind of homeless person. Staring at the front door he slammed in my face 37 minutes ago. I know it's been 37 minutes because I keep checking my phone, hoping he'll text, hoping he'll apologize, hoping he'll come down here and say he overreacted. The door stays closed. My phone stays silent. I mutter to myself, to the universe, to anyone who will listen. Quote Hagshu. A woman walking her dog gives me a strange look as she passes. I glare back at her until she hurries away. Quote 1. I say louder, to no one, to everyone. Quote, ta-to-tau. But apparently honesty is a crime now. Apparently having standards makes you the villain. Apparently wanting your partner to be a certain way makes you shallow. Well, forgive me for knowing what I want. Forgive me for not settling. Forgive me for being truthful in a relationship where everyone says communication is key. I was communicating, and look where it got me. Doubts about our for self found she's hanal. So, I saw up, the moment the argument explodes, the chair scene. Let me take you back to exactly what happened, because everyone's going to hear his version and paint me as some kind of monster, but you need to hear my side. The truth, the full context. It was a Thursday evening. I remember because Thursday is my favorite day. Friday adjacent, the weekend tantalizingly close, that hopeful feeling in the air. I'd come over to his apartment after work, still in my professional clothes, heels clicking on his hardwood floors, in a way that always made me feel powerful and put together. He was acting weird from the moment I walked in. Nervous, jittery, pacing back and forth in the living room, like he was preparing for a presentation or a job interview, or something equally stressful. He kept running his hands through his hair, that thing he does when he's anxious, and wouldn't sit down, wouldn't relax, just kept walking back and forth, back and forth. Are you okay? I asked, settling onto his couch, kicking off my heels. You're making me dizzy with all that pacing. Yeah, I'm fine, I need to talk to you about something. My stomach did a little flip, the good kind, the excited kind, because I could tell something big was coming. Maybe not a proposal. We'd only been dating for a year and 3 months, and I'd made it clear I needed at least 2 years before even considering engagement. But maybe a conversation about moving in together. Maybe about meeting his extended family. Maybe about taking a trip somewhere romantic. I sat up straighter, smoothed my skirt, prepared to look surprised and delighted. But he kept pacing, and the silence stretched, and the tension built. And I hate tension. I hate awkward silences. I hate that feeling when the air gets thick and heavy and you can barely breathe. So I decided to lighten the mood. "Whatever you're about to say," I said with a laugh, trying to sound playful and encouraging. "Just remember." He stopped pacing and looked at me hopefully. "I'd probably say yes to just about anything, if you were taller. You know, like your brother." I smiled, waited for him to laugh, waited for the tension to break. He didn't laugh. He stopped walking, completely froze mid-step, one foot still raised like a statue someone had paused. Then he slowly, very slowly, turned to look at me. His expression was blank, empty, like someone had wiped away every emotion and left nothing behind. Quote 9. His voice was quiet, too quiet. Quote 10. I said quickly, because suddenly the mood felt wrong, felt dangerous, felt like I'd stepped on a landmine I didn't know was there. Quote 11. He stared at me for a long moment, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds of complete silence where he just looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Then, without saying a word, without any warning, he walked to the dining table, dragged one of the chairs, the heavy wooden one with the padded seat, the one that scrapes loudly against the floor, into the center of the living room. The sound was deafening in the silence. He positioned it carefully, precisely, right in front of where I was sitting. Then he stepped up onto the chair. Now he was looking down at me, towering over me, his head nearly touching the ceiling. I started to laugh because this had to be a joke, right? He was making fun of my comment. He was being funny. This was his way of breaking the tension I'd accidentally created. "There," he said, his voice cold and flat. "I'm taller now. I'm looking down at you. I'm 6 inches taller than I was 30 seconds ago." I kept smiling, kept waiting for the punchline. "So, since I'm tall enough now, since I finally meet your standards, since I'm finally worthy of your approval," he pointed at the door, "I'm telling you to get out." My smile froze on my face. "What? Get out? Are you serious right now? You're being ridiculous. It was a joke." "You want height?" His voice was ice, pure ice. "Then go climb someone else. Preferably my brother, since you bring him up every chance you get." My stomach dropped. The laughter died in my throat. "I didn't mean—" "Get out of my apartment. You're overreacting." He stepped down from the chair, walked to the closet, pulled out the small suitcase I kept at his place for overnight stays, the cute pink one with the wheels that I bought specifically to leave here, and he started packing my things, efficiently, methodically, like he'd been planning this, like he'd thought about it before. My toothbrush, my face wash, my extra clothes, my phone charger, my favorite coffee mug, everything I'd slowly accumulated at his place over the past year, making his space partly mine, marking my territory. He packed it all. Quote 24. I jumped up from the couch. Quote 25. He zipped the suitcase, handed it to me. Quote 26. Quote 27. Quote 28. He shook his head slowly. Quote 29. He opened the front door. The hallway light spilled into his apartment, harsh and fluorescent and unforgiving. He stood there holding the door, waiting, silent, cold, done. Quote 30. Quote 31. His voice was so tired, so defeated. Quote 32. Aje quote 33 sao. Quote 34 4. I stood there, frozen, suitcase in hand, waiting for him to crack, to smile, to say, quote 35, and pull me into a hug. He didn't crack. He just stood there holding the door, looking at me like I was a stranger he was politely asking to leave. Fine, I grabbed my suitcase. Fine. But when you realize how stupid you're being, don't come crawling back to me. I stormed past him into the hallway. The door closed behind me. Then I heard the lock click. Then I heard the deadbolt slide into place. Then I heard nothing. Just silence on the other side of that door. And me, standing in the hallway, suddenly realizing this wasn't a fight we'd get over by tomorrow. This was something else entirely. Le Ne san ohan Act 1, her version of events. I was just being honest. Okay, let me explain to you, really explain, why I'm not the villain here. Why this whole situation is completely blown out of proportion. Why he's being unreasonable, and I'm the one who should be angry. I wasn't rejecting him. Let me make that absolutely clear right now. I was not rejecting him. I was motivating him. I was giving him feedback. I was letting him know what would take our relationship from good to great, from, yeah, this is fine, to, oh my God, this is everything I've ever wanted. That's not cruel. That's helpful. That's the kind of radical honesty that relationship experts are always talking about. Don't you watch those TikToks about how couples should communicate their needs clearly? That's what I was doing. Communicating. Being clear. Setting expectations. And yes, okay, he's sensitive about his height. I know that. I've always known that. But that doesn't mean we should just never talk about it, right? That doesn't mean it's off limits forever. We can't just pretend he's 6 feet tall when he's 5'7". We can't just ignore reality because reality makes him uncomfortable. I didn't even say he wasn't attractive. I never said that. I've told him a million times he's cute. I've told him I like his face. I've told him he's funny and smart and caring. I've given him plenty of compliments. I just also happened to mention that his brother is taller, and that height is attractive, and that if he had that extra height, everything would be perfect. That's not a crime. His brother is 6'1". That's just a fact. An observable, measurable fact. His brother walks into a room and people notice. His brother looks good in photos. His brother doesn't have to deal with being shorter than his girlfriend when she wears heels. I didn't even say his brother was better looking. I didn't say I wanted to date his brother. I just made a simple comparison about one specific physical attribute, but apparently that's enough to get kicked out of an apartment. What I conveniently left out when I called my best friend crying from the sidewalk, what I maybe forgot to mention when I was explaining what happened, were a few tiny details, small things, context that might sound bad but really isn't. I've teased him about his height before, but it was always playful, always with a smile, always couched in affection. My little guy is a term of endearment, not an insult. I wore heels intentionally sometimes, but that's not about him. That's about me feeling confident. If I happen to be 4 inches taller than him in those heels, that's just how heels work. I can't help that. I may have joked once at a party that his brother had Doris quote 42, but I was drunk, and it was to my friend, not to him, and I didn't think he was listening. And anyway, I meant it in terms of height and career and presentation, not that I actually wanted his brother. I might have told a few friends that if only he had the height, he'd be perfect. But that's just girl talk. That's just venting. That's just being honest about minor flaws. Everyone does it. Sarah complains about her boyfriend's receding hairline. Jessica says her husband's dad bod is getting worse. This is normal. I once posted on Instagram and quote, "Fafra44." But that was a meme. A viral meme everyone was posting. It wasn't about him specifically. And anyway, I deleted it after 2 hours when I realized he might see it. But in my head, even now, even sitting on this cold concrete with my mascara-stained face and my pink suitcase and my shattered pride, I still think, I'm the reasonable one. I'm the one who was trying to communicate. I'm the one who was being honest about my needs. He's the one being dramatic. He's the one who can't handle constructive feedback. He's the one throwing away a perfectly good relationship over a simple comment. I pull out my phone and start typing a text to him. You're being ridiculous. I was joking and you know it. You're throwing away what we have over nothing. Call me when you calm down. My finger hovers over the send button. Then I delete it, because some tiny uncomfortable voice in the back of my mind whispers that maybe, just maybe, he's not the one overreacting here. But I push that voice down. way, way down. Because if I'm not right, then what does that make me? Hame intenzione, eni, en hout tan. Act 2. What was really happening for him, what she didn't see. Here's what I didn't know, what I had no way of knowing, what he never told me and what I only found out later, too late, when everything was already destroyed. He had been planning to ask me to move in with him, not just thinking about it, not just considering it, actually planning it, actively preparing. He'd spent the last 3 weeks rearranging his apartment to make space for my things. He moved his gaming setup to the corner to make room for a vanity I'd mentioned wanting. He cleared out half his closet, and bought matching hangers. He researched the best way to combine households. He even bought a second set of keys and had them sitting in his desk drawer, waiting for the right moment. He told his brother that morning, that very morning, hours before I walked through his door, that he was finally ready, that he'd been rehearsing a speech, that he wanted to take the next step with me, that despite all the little comments and jabs and comparisons, he loved me enough to overlook them, that he thought we could build something real. His brother, apparently, had concerns. "Are you sure?" his brother asked him over coffee. "She makes a lot of comments about you, about your height, about me." "She's just joking," he said. "That's her sense of humor. I can handle it." "But does she respect you?" "Of course she does. She wouldn't be with me if she didn't." His brother didn't look convinced, but he hugged him anyway and said, quote, 53. So when I walked through that door on Thursday evening, he was nervous because he was about to ask me something huge, something scary, something that would change everything. He'd practiced his speech in the mirror that morning. He'd imagined my reaction, the surprise, the joy, the excitement. He'd pictured us celebrating, maybe going out for dinner, maybe opening that bottle of wine he'd been saving. And then I opened my mouth. Quote, 54. In one sentence, I compared him to his brother for the 1,000th time, made his height, his biggest insecurity, the condition for my commitment, implied he wasn't quite good enough as he was, destroyed every ounce of confidence he'd built up for that moment, confirmed every doubt his brother had expressed that morning. When he said he'd been dealing with this for a year, he meant it. He meant the time I accidentally mentioned at his family dinner that his brother was the tall one. He meant the party where I introduced him to my friends as my boyfriend. He's short but sweet. He meant the wedding we attended where I spent the whole night dancing with taller men while he sat at the table alone. He meant the Instagram photo I posted of us where I tagged him with short king energy, thinking it was cute when it actually made him feel like a joke. He meant the 100 little comments and comparisons and jokes that I thought were harmless, but that he filed away, each one a small cut, each one adding to the growing pile of evidence that I didn't quite accept him as he was. So when I made that comment, that one final comment about saying yes if he were taller like his brother, it wasn't one joke that pushed him over the edge. It was the last straw on a back that had been breaking for months. It was the confirmation he'd been dreading. It was proof that even in the moment when he was about to offer me everything, I was thinking about what he lacked. And he snapped. Not in an angry way, not in a violent way, in a cold, final, I'm done way. He stood on that chair to show me how absurd my condition was, to demonstrate how shallow it sounded, to make me see what I was really saying. And when I still didn't get it, when I laughed it off as him being dramatic, he realized I never would. So he chose himself. He chose his dignity. He chose to not spend his life with someone who saw him as a series of measurements instead of a person. But I didn't know any of this in the moment. I had no idea what I'd just destroyed. All I knew was that my boyfriend was freaking out over a joke, and that made me the victim in my mind. Act 3. The humiliation, the packing scene. Let me paint the full picture of what happened after he stood on that chair, because the humiliation didn't end with his cold dismissal. It got worse. So much worse. Still standing on the chair, looking down at me like a judge pronouncing sentence, he said, "You compare me to my brother for the last time." His voice wasn't angry. That's what made it so terrifying. If he'd yelled, if he'd gotten emotional, if he'd shown any heat, I could have worked with that. I could have calmed him down. I could have soothed his ego and smoothed things over like I'd done before. But this was different. This was cold, clinical, final. I tried to laugh it off, because laughing had always worked before. Laughing made things lighter. Laughing showed I wasn't taking myself too seriously. Quote 60. He stepped down from the chair, walked past me without looking at me, opened the closet door with a decisive click, pulled out my suitcase, my cute pink suitcase with the wheels and the extendable handle, and the little luggage tag I'd personalized with my initials. And he started packing my things, not throwing them, not tossing them angrily, packing them, neatly, carefully, folding my clothes, placing my toiletries in the side pocket, organizing everything with a precision that somehow made it worse. "What are you doing?" I stood up, panic rising in my chest. "Stop it! You're being ridiculous!" He didn't stop. He went to the bathroom and collected my toothbrush, my face wash, my moisturizer, my makeup remover, everything I'd slowly brought over during late nights and lazy weekends. "Are you seriously kicking me out right now? Over a joke?" He moved to the bedroom, grabbed the extra clothes I kept in his drawer, the t-shirt I slept in, the comfortable pants, the underwear. I followed him, my voice getting higher, more desperate. "This is insane. You're being completely irrational. I didn't do anything wrong. I made one little comment and you're acting like I committed a crime." He packed my favorite coffee mug, the one that said, "But first coffee," that I'd left on his kitchen counter 3 months ago and just never took home. He packed my phone charger. He packed my book from his nightstand. He packed the slippers I kept by his door. Every single trace of me in his apartment, methodically removed and placed in that pink suitcase. I grabbed his arm. Quote 60 scenes. He gently, always gently, because he never once got physically aggressive, never once raised a hand, never once touched me in anger, removed my hand from his arm. Quote 67. Quote 68. He zipped the suitcase. The sound of the zipper closing felt like a door slamming, like an ending being written in real time. He pulled up the handle, rolled it toward me, held it out. Quote 69. Quote 70. Quote 71. He shook his head slowly, sadly, like he was disappointed in me, in us, in what we'd become. "You want a taller version of me. You want my brother in my personality. You want someone who meets your standards. And that person isn't me. It will never be me. I can't grow 6 inches. I can't become someone I'm not. So you need to go find what you're actually looking for. This is about your insecurity, not about me." The moment those words left my mouth, I knew I'd made it worse. I saw it in his eyes, the way they hardened, the way the last bit of warmth disappeared. Quote 74, he said quietly. Quote 75, 5. He walked to the front door, opened it wide. The hallway stretched beyond, empty, cold, fluorescent lit. Quote 776. Quote 77. Quote 78, Tate. He gestured to the hallway. Quote 79. Quote 80. It wasn't a question anymore. It was a realization. I'm really doing this. I grabbed my suitcase. My hands were shaking. My vision was blurring with tears I refused to let fall, because crying would mean I was wrong, would mean I'd hurt him, would mean I was the bad guy. Quote 82. I stormed past him, my suitcase wheels catching on the door frame, my shoulder bumping the wall. Quote 83 land tree. He didn't respond, just watched me go with those sad, tired eyes. "I can have any guy I want. You know that, right? I'm doing you a favor by being with you." The words kept coming, defensive and cruel, trying to hurt him the way I was hurting. Your brother probably wouldn't kick me out over one comment. That one landed. I saw it hit, saw his jaw clench, saw his hand tighten on the doorframe. But he still didn't yell, still didn't fight back. He just said, very quietly, "You're probably right. My brother is a better man than me in a lot of ways, but he'd never date someone who treated his brother the way you've treated me." And then he closed the door. Not slammed, closed. I heard the lock click, then the deadbolt, then the chain, then nothing. I stood there for a full minute, waiting for him to open it again, waiting for this to be some kind of lesson, some kind of scare tactic, some kind of temporary anger that would pass. The door stayed closed. The hallway was silent except for the hum of the fluorescent lights, and I realized, slowly, horribly, that he really meant it. I tried the doorknob anyway. Locked. I knocked. "Hey, come on. Open the door." Nothing. I knocked harder. I said, "I'm sorry, what more do you want?" Silence. I pulled out my phone and called him. It rang twice before going to voicemail. I called again. Straight to voicemail. He'd declined it. I texted, quote, 89, N. The message showed as delivered, then read, no response. I texted again. Quote, 90. Read, no response. Quote, 91. Read, no response. Quote, 92. Read, no response. I stood there for another 5 minutes, pride and panic warring in my chest. Then I heard movement inside the apartment, footsteps. He was walking around, living his life, just existing without me, like I'd already been erased. That's when it hit me, really hit me. He was done, completely done. This wasn't a fight we'd sleep off. This wasn't anger that would cool by morning. This wasn't a speed bump in our relationship. This was the end. And I'd caused it, but I still couldn't admit that to myself. Not yet. Not standing in that hallway with my stupid pink suitcase and my running mascara and my shattered pride. So I took the elevator down to the lobby and walked outside. And that's where you find me now, sitting on the cold concrete steps, mascara streaking my face, suitcase beside me, alone. Act 4. The aftermath and complete fall apart. I sit on the sidewalk outside his apartment building for 23 minutes before I pull out my phone to call someone. Anyone. Someone who will tell me I'm right, that he's overreacting, that this is all his fault and his insecurity problem. I call my best friend Ashley. She answers on the third ring. "Hey, what's up?" "He kicked me out." My voice breaks on the last word. "What? Who? Wait, are you talking about?" "Yes, he literally kicked me out. Over nothing. Over a joke." "Okay, slow down. What happened?" "I made one tiny comment about his height, and he completely lost it and kicked me out and packed my stuff, and now I'm sitting outside his apartment like some kind of homeless person, and he won't answer my calls and—" Wait, what exactly did you say?" I pause, because telling her exactly what I said will make it sound worse than it was. I joked that I'd say yes to anything if he were taller. Like his brother. That's it. That's literally all I said. Silence on the other end. "Ashley? You said that to him?" "Yes, as a joke." More silence. Longer this time. "Ashley, are you there?" "I'm here, I'm just trying to figure out how to say this nicely." My stomach drops. "Say what?" "Babe, you've been making comments about his height for months. Every time we go out, you mention it. Every time you post about him, you make some reference to it. We've all noticed." "I do not. You literally posted short kings try, tall kings win 2 weeks ago. That was a meme. Everyone was posting it. While you were dating a short guy, come on, you had to know how that would look." "I deleted it." After he probably saw it. I'm crying harder now, ugly crying, the kind where you can't breathe right. "So you're taking his side? You're my best friend and you're taking his side. I'm not taking sides. I'm not surprised he finally snapped. We've all been kind of waiting for it. What? The girls and I have talked about it. About how you compare him to his brother. About how you wear heels specifically to be taller than him. About how you always mention his height like it's this thing you're settling for. We've been wondering how long he'd put up with it. This feels like betrayal, like everyone has been talking behind my back, judging me, deciding I'm the villain. Quote 118, quote 119. I hang up on her, immediately call my mum. She answers on the first ring. Quote 120, quote 121. I'm sobbing now, barely coherent. What's wrong? Are you hurt? He broke up with me. He kicked me out. Over nothing. Who? What are you talking about? My boyfriend. I made one little joke and he freaked out and now I'm sitting outside his apartment and I don't know what to do. What did you say to him? Nothing. Just a comment about his height and his brother and how I'd say yes if he were taller and... Oh, honey, no. What? You said that to him? Not her too, not my own mother. It was a joke, Mom. Why doesn't anyone understand that? Because it's not funny, sweetheart. Height is... That's a sensitive thing for men. And comparing him to his brother, that's cruel. I wasn't being cruel. I was being honest. Sometimes honesty without kindness is just cruelty with an excuse. I'm crying so hard I can barely see my phone screen. Quote 135, quote 136, quote 137, quote 138. She says it gently, lovingly, but I can hear the disappointment underneath. I hang up on her too. Scroll through my contacts. Who else can I call? Who else will validate me? Before I can decide, my phone buzzes with a text from his brother. Cheers, quote 139. My heart stops. Quote 140. Quote 141 hut. Quote 142. Unquote 143. I hesitate, then type a quote 144. 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Finally, quote 145 as quote 146, to quote 147, to quote 148, to quote 149, to quote 150, to quote 151, to quote 152, and quote 153. He stops typing, but then quote 154. My hands start shaking so badly, I nearly drop my phone. There's quote 155, and quote 156, and quote 157, and quote 158. I don't answer because I don't know the answer. And quote 159, in quote 160, quote 161. The message shows as delivered, but he's already gone offline. I check. Try to call my boyfriend again. The number you are trying to reach is no longer in service or has been disconnected. No, not disconnected. Blocked. He blocked me. I try texting. Message failed to deliver. I try Instagram. User not found. Facebook. This person isn't available right now. He blocked me everywhere, on everything. In the span of 30 minutes, he erased me from his digital life completely. I pull my knees to my chest and sob. A woman walks by with her dog. The dog, a golden retriever, tries to come sniff me. The woman yanks it away quickly, but I hear her whisper to someone on her phone as she walks. Yeah, she's still out here. No, the one who compared him to his brother again. I know, right? No wonder. I'd have kicked her out too. She knows. The neighbor knows. Which means other neighbors know. Which means he probably told people. Or they heard the argument. Or they saw me getting packed up and thrown out. My humiliation doubles, triples, becomes unbearable. Another neighbor, an older man who lives on the second floor, walks out of the building, sees me, does a double take. You okay, miss? I'm fine, I manage. Need me to call someone, family, friend? I said I'm fine. He nods slowly. Okay, but you can't stay here all night. Building policy. I'm not staying. I'm waiting for him to come down. I nod. He looks at me with something like pity. He's not coming down, miss. I saw him earlier. He looked pretty definitive about things. You don't know that. I've lived here for 6 years. I've seen him date a few people, never seen him pack someone's stuff and hand them their suitcase before. That's pretty clear. He walks away, leaving me alone with that devastating observation. I sit there for another hour. The sky gets darker. The temperature drops. My phone battery drops to 15%. He never comes down, never calls, never texts, never relents. And slowly, horribly, I start to realize that maybe, just maybe, this isn't about him overreacting. Maybe it's about me finally facing consequences. Maybe it's about him finally choosing himself. Maybe it's about me learning that words have weight, that jokes can wound, that comparisons can kill, that love isn't enough if it comes with conditions. But even now, even with that realization creeping in, I can't fully accept it, because accepting it means I was wrong, and I've never been good at being wrong. So I pick up my suitcase, call an Uber, go to Ashley's place even though she's probably going to lecture me, and I tell myself that he'll come around tomorrow, that he'll miss me, that he'll realize I didn't mean it, that we'll get past this. But deep down, in a place I don't want to look, I know the truth. I broke something that can't be fixed. I made one too many jokes. I crossed one too many lines. I compared him one too many times. And now I'm sitting in an Uber with a pink suitcase and running mascara and a phone full of blocked numbers, alone. Because I couldn't love someone the way they were. Because I needed them to be taller to be worthy. Because I made him stand on a chair to meet my standards. And he finally decided he'd rather stand on the ground alone than on a chair for me. Epilogue. 3 days later, still not getting it. It's been 3 days since he kicked me out. 72 hours of radio silence. 72 hours of blocked calls and unsent texts and social media stalking from my friend's account because he blocked mine. I've been staying at Ashley's apartment, sleeping on her couch, eating ice cream for breakfast, cycling through the 5 stages of grief like they're a playlist on shuffle. Denial. He'll cool off soon. Anger. He's being ridiculous. Bargaining. Maybe if I send flowers. Depression. I'm going to die alone. Back to denial. He definitely still loves me. Ashley has been patient, more patient than I deserve, honestly. She's made me coffee every morning, let me cry on her expensive couch cushions, listened to me rant about how unfair this all is, nodded in the right places, made sympathetic sounds, but on day 3, she apparently reaches her limit. I'm mid-rant about how he can't take a joke when she cuts me off. Babe, I love you, but I need to say something. What? You keep saying it was just a joke, but jokes are supposed to be funny. Who was laughing? I was trying to lighten the mood. By comparing him to his brother for the 1,000th time. It wasn't the 1,000th time. Okay, fine. The 100th time. The 50th time. Does the exact number matter? You did it constantly. We all saw it. I'm quiet. She continues, gentler now. Quote 190, or quote 191, in quote 192. And the words hit different when she says them that way. In quote 193, in quote 194, in quote 195, in quote 196. I'm crying again, always crying these days. So what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to learn from this. You're supposed to realize that the way you talk about people matters, that constant little digs add up, that comparison kills connection, that you can't love someone and simultaneously wish they were different. But everyone wishes their partner was a little different. Different is, I wish he'd put his dishes in the dishwasher, or I wish he'd text me back faster. Different is not, I wish he had the body type of his brother, or I wish he were a different person. That's not different. That's rejection. I pull the blanket tighter around myself. He's not going to take me back, is he? Ashley is quiet for a long moment. Probably not. And honestly, maybe he shouldn't. That hurts more than anything he said to me. You're supposed to be on my side. I am on your side, That's why I'm telling you the truth instead of the comfortable lie. You messed up, badly, and you need to own it so you don't do it to the next guy. There's not going to be a next guy. There will be, and when there is, you need to love him as he is or not love him at all. Because what you did to your ex, that wasn't love. That was conditional acceptance, and nobody deserves that. I don't respond because I don't know what to say. Because she's right. Because they were all right. Because he was right. I didn't love him. Not really. Not the way love is supposed to be. I loved the idea of him with modifications. I loved him with conditions. I loved him as a project, not as a person. And he finally realized it. So he stood on that chair, not to be taller, but to show me how absurd my conditions were. And when I still didn't get it, when I still laughed it off, he gave up. He chose himself. And I can't even be mad about it because if I were him, I'd have done the same thing. Probably sooner. 3 days later, and I finally understand what I lost. Not a short guy. Not someone who wasn't tall enough. But someone who loved me enough to overlook my shallowness for a year before finally deciding he deserved better. And he did deserve better.